I don't know who you are, but welcome. But I think I hear some noise in the background. So if you could,
Yeah, I'm gonna mute my noise.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you. Yes, my name is Haifa Bint Qadi, and thank you for the talk. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Ava. Thank you for joining us. We're just waiting for everyone to come on and for it to start. And I'm doing this also on Facebook Live. I'm trying to get my camera set up properly, and that's always a challenge on when you're working
you're on early, so you're going to be good.
Yeah, when you're working on two platforms at once, it's always a challenge.
Oh,
so if I can get this working. Hi, Nawal Abdulhama Abu Hamda. Nawal, thank you for watching us on Facebook Live. So we have so far 2 people on, and Ridikkuluz should be on in a few minutes, in a minute or so. And I'm going to be playing a song he requested as one of his favorites. So we will, I will put that on. I'll do a share screen and we'll play his favorite song in a minute. Also, trying to get my Facebook. Sorry, Nawal. I had a small tripod for my Facebook, but evidently it's wasn't working. Hey, Ridikkuluz, here you are. Hey, hi. I can't hear you.
How's everything going?
Yeah, so we already have some people on Facebook Live watching and people on Zoom, so people will come in as they do when they do. And we still have 3 minutes before we actually start at 11. And I play favorite song. How are you?
I'm doing good. I love the background that you have.
Yeah, that's from Hebron. That's I'm not there. I'm in the West Village, but this is a beautiful dove from the Hebron Peace Center when I was there 2 years ago visiting, and I had planned to go there last summer and the summer before to do volunteer work, but thanks to COVID, I never made it. But yeah, I love that background. It's a big mural when you go into the Peace Center. It's a huge dove with feathers with the colors of the Palestinian flag on it. And then it says Hebron Peace Center next to it, but it's backwards when it shows up on the screen. So how are you doing in terrible weather?
I'm doing okay. It's a happy Saturday. The holidays are over. I'm in between semesters right now, so I'm sort of just relaxing and just
good.
taking it day by day. Yeah.
Will you be going back online to school?
No, I actually take classes in person. I'm getting my MFA in art at Hunter. So I've been just I had an online class last semester, but this semester it's just been the next semester is going to be totally in person.
Okay, because I know a number of schools are going back online due to COVID again. So I was wondering if you were, your school was also doing that. So I'm glad, but be careful. This COVID thing is just insane. I'm just not going out.
No, definitely not a joke.
I had to take I took a ride to visit my grandchildren for Three Kings Day. I haven't seen them since December 19th. I see them for Christmas. They were down in Florida. I wore 2 masks, 2 face masks, and a plastic shield. Totally paranoid. But, I'm just really so scared of getting sick. And the hospitals are filling up. I have a friend of mine who's a doctor who's very discouraged about everybody thinks this new COVID is not a big deal, but it is. That people are.
Oh no, it definitely is. It definitely is. The only thing is I have not. It's I'm really taking advantage of the fact that in situations like this you have to stay at home.
Yeah.
It's. I prefer not to leave my house, if anything, actually.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the exact same mode of thinking. I'm just planning to just lay low
Mhm.
and stay in. And the weather is also so horrible that I don't even want to go out in it. I take my dogs out. I took them out, but I take them out one at a time because it's slippery and they pull. I have one dog that's particularly psycho. They're both dogs from Jordan. They're both terrorist Palestinian dogs, Jordanian dogs. One of them is from the ancient. Hi, Rawa. Welcome. Hi, how are you? Thank you for
That's my good
joining.
friend Rauya. She's an amazing
Hi.
Yeah.
Is that the one who does mosaics?
No, Haifa does mosaics. She's
Okay,
amazing.
okay.
I don't know if she's
Yeah,
logging on
yeah.
right now, but she's amazing.
I
too.
am. I'm on.
Hi, welcome.
I wouldn't miss.
Welcome. And welcome, Madha. To see people are popping in as we start. And hi, Madhya, how are you?
Very good, very good.
Good, nice to see you back again. Hi, one of my favorites.
Thank
Shows us something wonderful to say. Okay, so it's 12:01. So I'm going to start off, as I usually do, playing some music while people come on. And I'm going to be playing what was confessed to me to be a favorite song, Ridikkuluz of Samir. And by the way, Samira, you should be able to also share screen. So I'm going to play this for us now, though. Can you all see it? Can everybody see the screen?
If you want to achieve better results,
Oh, and then of course the ad.
Yes.
save time at work,
Okay, all right,
you
hang
should
on.
get Grammarly.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. For you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Reishi Parvaz on Facebook.
أنام وتريني ماسك الهوى ماسك الهوى وقام الهوى يا حبيبي قام الهوى يا حبيبي خايف ومشيت وانا خايف ايدي في ايدك وانا خايف خايف على فرحة قلبي خايف على شوقي وحبي ويا ما قلت لك انا واحنا في عز الغنى قلت لك يا حبيبي قلت لك يا حبيبي لا انا قد الفرحه ديت وحلاوه الفرحه ديت خايف لا في يوم وليله ما نمشي من ايديا تغيب عليا.
Welcome everyone to our wonderful Zoom Palestine program today. Welcome, Mary. A few more people have come on to Facebook, so I think we have enough to start. And we start with kind of a review of recent events in Palestine that I get from the Electronic Intifada, which has really excellent articles on what's going on. So I'm going to do a screen share again, and we can look at some of the materials together. And what do we see? And we read that the EU admits to teaming up with Israeli police to enable mass surveillance. No surprise, any of you who know what goes on in Europe know that the Israelis have enormous power over European governments and the EU, so this is no surprise. I refer you, the Electronic Intifada just sent this email out today. If you're not on their mailing list, I recommend highly you get on it because you'll get really great updates. The next article, they talk about that many major performers dumped the city festival over Israeli sponsoring of it. So let's have a look at that, because that would be it's always, when you have bad news, it's always good to balance it out with good news. So the bad news about the EU surveillance, we can balance out with this article over many celebrities. At least 30 major artists, performers, and organizations have pulled out of the city festival in Australia over $20,000 sponsorship deal with the Israeli embassy. And I think that's so great. That's such great news. And we have can be very thankful for that there's many people who are not putting up with Israeli sponsorship of the arts. And another article here that Canada does arm and fund Israel. And we know that any of you who've been following this know that the Canadians have been great sponsors of Israel, have passed laws against BDS, Palestinians, and they have, I don't know what's with Trudeau, but they get a lot of money from Israel for doing business with Canadian firms and Canadian arms deals. So it's always about the money, follow the money. The people who support Israel are linked financially to them. Israel buys a lot of their stuff. Another article, the Dutch double standards punish the Palestinians and embrace Israel. Let's have a look at that. I don't know too much about what's happened here. The Netherlands has ended funding. Oh, well, that's new. Has ended funding to the Union of Agricultural Work Committees, one of 6 Palestinian organizations declared as terrorist groups by Tel Aviv. The implications of the Dutch move will reverberate throughout Palestinian civil society, which is under unprecedented attack by Israel. Israel accuses the prominent human rights and social services organizations of serving as a front group for the PLO, blah, blah, blah. The targeted groups reject Israel's claims and demanded Tel Aviv provide evidence. And evidently, if you remember when they first did this, there's no evidence. So I'm shocked that the Netherlands is going along with this. So this week, so Israel responded by saying that it would allow the groups to review only the unclassified materials on what it's being based on. So nobody really knows. They don't really have any evidence of avoiding giving any proof to anybody. So this is pretty awful that the Netherlands, who we all consider as a kind of a bastion of liberalism and intelligence, would go along with this. I have to get in touch with my Dutch friends and tell them to send letters. And now Emma Watson, I don't know if you all heard about Emma Watson, from Harry Potter. They're going after Emma Watson now. She was smeared by a racist Israeli diplomat. She made a very bland statement. Israel's former envoy to the United Nations, Danny Denon. Oh, he's such a I don't want to say anything bad about him, but I'm not fond of him. Let's put it that way. Smeared actor Emma Watson as an anti-Semite after she reposted a photo on her Instagram account of Palestinian solidarity demonstration with the words "solidarity" is a verb. Danon is a far-right politician who's called for Palestinian national suicide and has a lengthy history of racist incitements against Arabs and Africans. And while he was a diplomat here, he did a lot of damage in the United States. Earlier this week, Watson, known for her role as Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter films, posted the image, which was originally made by Bad Activist Collective, a leftist media activist organization. So she wrote, solidarity does not assume that our struggles are the same struggles, or that our pain is the same pain, or that our hope is for the same future. And she has retorted with saying that anti-Zionism is not, and the criticism of Israel is not anti-Semitism. So this is the usual, pathetic excuse that they use to stop people from expressing their opinions about what Israel is doing. Another very important thing I read about this is that the hunger striker in Palestine, the Palestinian hunger striker in Israeli prison, Hisham Abu, his hunger strike after Israel agreed to release him next week. So that's another victory. So we can see the year 2022 has kind of started out with kind of an interesting yin yang, an interesting balance. When we read something awful that's happened for Palestine, then we read something good. So I think this is a sign of hope that things are changing, that people are becoming more committed to Palestinian rights and Palestinian solidarity. So, because this guy, for 141 days, the 40-year-old refused food from Israeli jailers to protest being held under the so-called administrative detention. For those of you who don't know what that is, administrative detention is when they pick you up, throw you in jail, and don't have to give you a reason. And they just keep you there as long as they want. And this is done time and time again to Palestinians for nothing. When they want to put somebody in jail, but they don't have a reason to do it, they arrest them anyway and call it administrative detention. It's one of the most shocking practices for judiciary that I've ever seen. And the article continues, after negotiations that involved Israeli, Egyptian, and Palestinian Authority officials, including PA intelligence chief Majed Faraj, the Israeli military agreed to release Abu Hawash on 26th of February, not renew his detention order. We have two more people, Taukir Shaikh and Eugene Hernandez. Welcome back to Zoom Palestine. We're reading some good news. So On Tuesday, the Palestinian Prisoners Club announced that Abu Hawash's lawyer, Jawad Boulis, would deliver news of the agreement to Abu Hawash. Palestinian celebrated his victory in his hometown. There's a picture of it here on the screen, with people celebrating in the village of Dura, near the occupied West Bank city of Hebron on Tuesday. And this is where my picture in the background is from Hebron. I don't know why people keep calling me when they know I do this program, but anyhow, it is what it is. So, so we have good news as well as bad news. So let's hope that this balance continue through the year, and that ultimately we have more good news tallying up as bad news. And I'm looking forward to this year. Actually, I think we are in for a lot of wonderful change in regard to Palestine. So I want to introduce everyone to our amazing artist, Ridikkuluz. And why don't you tell us about yourself? When did you become an artist, Samir? When did you first start becoming an artist?
I think I thank you guys so much for coming. And it's so nice to be here. And thank you, Jackie, for hosting. I started painting when I was a kid, but like just like any other like kid, like in a class. But I wasn't like informed by like art as like this whole thing until I got close with my uncle back home. He lives in Jordan, and he's an art dealer. I think you know him, Khaldun Daoud.
Yeah. I painted in his studio, actually. I made a painting for him to be exhibited in Bahrain. Yeah,
he's cool. So I spent a lot of time with him when I was younger, and he was a little bit of a mentor, not in terms of like the art of making, but like the life of an artist and like what that's like and what comes along with that. And then like just experiencing life here in New York my whole life, just like informed my art. And then that in combination with like my cultural background.
Where were you born?
I was born here in New York.
Okay.
My parents were born in Jordan. My dad is Egyptian, and my mom is a Palestinian Syrian mix.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a mutt, but like I feel like through this process of like decolonization and whatnot, you like begin to see the Arab world as like one for me. And yeah, and like even if you look at history, like we were called like Bilad al-Sham. It was just one place with a bunch of different communities. So that's the way how I look at it. Yeah.
Did you feel a Palestinian? Your mom is part Palestinian and Syrian, and your father Egyptian, but they were married in Jordan. They lived in Jordan.
Yeah, in Jordan. Yeah,
that's a pretty common combination in Jordan. It was my cat too. He likes to destroy the computer. So when did you first begin having a Palestinian identity and be aware of what it was to be a Palestinian and the problems and issues of Palestine? How old were you when that happened?
I was, to be honest, I was totally ignorant of my identity growing up. I knew what my parents taught me. I spoke the language at home, obviously, but I wasn't aware of like the depth and the seriousness until like when I started going back home to Jordan, and I couldn't like seeing something like going to the Jordan River, for an example, like that was a whole process, or like going to Jerusalem. Like it wasn't until I experienced things that like firsthand that I got the gist of like what was going on. And it's really interesting because that's a whole conversation in itself, like what Arabs decide to do once they get here, like the diaspora.
Yeah.
I've met like Arab childhood friends that were growing up that were like completely disassociated with their culture. And then I've met Arab friends that put me on to what is actually happening. One of my good friends, Nardine, actually welcomed me when I was, I want to say 16, 17, to a group called SJP here in New York, and Students Justice for Palestine. And we've been friends ever since. And I was really, really a strong, active member of the group throughout my college years, even. But yeah, it's interesting though, because then there's this like conversation about intersectionality that comes along with this, right? Like we're so spread out around the world, and we're so like mixed in. It really supports this idea that supports the fact that there is this ethnic cleansing that's going on. You know what I mean?
Did do you know Karima, who has that group of artists? She went to her father was the first Palestinian ambassador to the UN from the PA. So she grew up in New York because her father was working here. She went to Stuyvesant. She felt kind of marginalized. She would wear her keffiyeh, and since a lot of the other students were Jewish, she always felt kind of marginalized, although she got along great with everybody. There was nothing overt, but she always had a sense of her Palestinian identity. But of course, she wasn't born here, and she came here later in life. Did you ever experience a sense of being marginalized or being from a group of people that other people were suspicious of or frightened of?
Yeah, I think the issue is there's multiple things. So we could talk about aesthetics for a second. So the simple sheer fact that like the keffiyeh in the American eyes and in the international eyes, that is a symbol of terrorism, right?
Yeah.
So that in itself, I mean, wearing it on a place like a subway, like you'll get eyes, right?
I know.
And then,
I wear it all the time. What is that old blonde lady doing with the keffiyeh? Okay.
so there's that, right? There's the aesthetic part, and then there's this actual like thing where you try to like talk to people about like Palestine on a map or something like that, or like you try to bring it up and they will actually try to talk to you like it doesn't exist. Yeah. Like erasure. I'm gonna share my screen for a second. How do I do this? All right.
Great.
Oh,
great, it works. Splendid. Wonderful.
Yes. My only thing is I just don't know how to play it, but I think we should be good. Oh well. But yeah, there's a lot of marginalization that happens, and I think it really comes back to the fact that like people know what they know, and they only know what they know. And if you've never seen me before, I don't understand how you can possibly try to place me in your psyche, right? And a lot of media has a lot to do with this. And I think even like the height of what's happened last year, right, in May, in regards to Palestine, that taught us that media has a lot to do, and just cultural capital in general has a lot to do with how things are perceived, right? So we got our facts on social media. This idea of Palestine was looked at differently by the majority of the world, right, for the first time. If again, it goes back to this thing: if you don't know, you don't know. And finally, people started to learn or catch on, and that changed the narrative about how people like view this thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it goes back to media. I think America is very segregated. It's very black and white. and it leaves no rooms sometimes for like narratives in between, because I think that's how literally people view things as black and white. Yeah, and I think something is happening here in the world. There definitely is a shift. And I think more people of color and marginalized people are being able to tell their stories, you know. I'm gonna start just because I don't want to keep anybody for too long, if you don't mind.
Let me ask everybody to mute themselves so that Samir can do his presentation without interruption. So if everybody be kind enough to mute themselves. Thanks.
Love you guys. So when I first started painting, I was like very ambitious, and I wanted to feel a sense of community from the Arabs that I grew up with here, and just the Arabs back home, having that sense of duality, and going back and forth between you know, the East and the West was like interesting, and I just wanted to make my people proud. So that's what, like, also, people don't talk about this a lot, but living in post 9/11 America is really something else, right? Because when you say Arab, when you talk about Arabness, right, there's this focus on the bad. But so I was using our culture and the beautiful things that in it to sort of shine a light on it and detract from the things that people hear about us on the news. So paintings like this, for me, it was a way to show people that we are so much more than what you think you know about us, right?
Could you identify all the people in the painting that you've painted for people who may not?
Sure. So this is Fairuz. This is Muhammad Abdul Wahab. This is Wadia Safi, Farid Al-Atrash, Abdul Halim Hafiz, and Kulthum. And then over here, there's this a lot of, this is, I mean, I guess this doesn't matter, but a lot of the orchestras, like a lot of the singers back in the day, they used to share they're the same orchestras. And this was a notable person that stuck out to me. So I repainted him. But yeah, just to continue on, like, again, I was just trying to, I think my intention was pure. My intention was to talk about my culture and like have it as like a learning standpoint or a learning conversation, like between me and the Arabs and the Americans that don't know about Arabs. But I think it's scary sometimes, because I think through doing that, you can unintentionally or subconsciously be trying to make yourself more palatable for Americans, when that's not really my job. So, but this is obviously, I'm a growing person, human being, right? And this is something that I learned over time. But this painting is of Fairuz and Ziad Rahbani, her son, and it's called Creative Differences, and it is basically a painting of their they were lifelong collaborators, and I just wanted to pay homage to that. This is a painting paying homage to Kulthum. You have different versions of herself, like bubbling up on the neck, that feeling that she gets when she performs. She's using.
You want to explain who she is to people who may not be familiar with her?
So she is the like the Aretha Franklin of Egypt.
Very good.
Yeah, she's everything. I love her. She's everything. Yeah. What else? So then if you can't tell, like, I was just strictly trying to pay homage. I just want to interrupt real quick. Could you guys all see my screen? Maybe give a thumbs up or something, because I just got a notification saying
yes, I see.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, once again, I was just trying to pay homage to the stars that I knew. But then I realized like I want to actually tell a story here. Like I want to inform and archive the story so that like, you know, people know about us. So then I started getting into storytelling. This is a painting of basically like Palestinian children, reminiscent of a lot of the experiences that we share back home, where you tie a rope around a tree and you hang from it like a swing. This is a childhood experience a lot of people can relate to. And this is the stars of the Middle East. So again, it's what I did before helped inform this. And it's Kulthum and Feiruz, these two Arab divas of the Middle East, protecting these children from this Israeli soldier. So so as I started getting into more storytelling, I started playing around with you know, obviously like when it comes to art, there's things that you need to take into consideration, like theme, composition, you know, aesthetics, details. So I tried moving into a little bit of abstraction. I was really, you hear these stories about like this idea of a diaspora and like this journey trying to leave where you're from. And this was what this painting was all about. It was a painting of just basically trying to escape. And this is an actual, a lot of these images are actual images that I got from the news. Like this is a Palestinian father with his daughter, right in the middle. And I tried to do like swirls of things. Like this is like an evil eye monster. Again, like I got really surrealistic with this painting. It was just an experiment, but I think it's important to note because I think all your experiments like as an artist help inform what you do in the future. So
and who is the face, the large face on the right?
The large face, it was just some random, like I was just looking at a lot of the people on the news, and this is just a random face that stuck out to me. This is a painting of, it's called Stop Staring, and it's a painting of this hijabi woman. And I just wanted to, there's something very beautiful about it in like a Mona Lisa type of way, but it's not. And so I think that's what I was trying to express when I did this painting. And I've shifted a bit since my work. I think it's important to note that the work that I was showing you before was like spanning 2015, 2016, something like that. This is 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And then as an artist, like I always consider myself a student, so I still like to practice on like different things. This is an actual portrait of a family from Jerusalem. My friend asked me to paint his dad with, that's him, he's the baby right here, his dad and his grandmother. So it's amazing. He was very, very specific about like what he wanted on the olive trees and things like that. So I think it was just important. But yeah, as I try to go more into like describing other people's stories or whatever, I thought that maybe if I understood myself a bit better, that I'd be able to tell their stories a little bit better. So I started experimenting with self-portraits. And that helped inform a lot of the other pieces to come. And obviously like
you want to explain that?
Yeah, it's just this, it's called Eye on the Target and Wham. It's that, what's that song? Not Judy Garland, Funny Girl.
Oh yeah.
Barbara Streisand, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the title of this painting comes from. It's a Barbara Streisand song. Anyways, it's this idea of like what it's like being Kieran, like a target, obviously.
Wow. That's powerful, Samir.
Thank you. I'm not mad at it, but I think it helps inform what I'm doing now. And then I went back to capture more other stories that I learned. There was this Jordanian Palestinian doctor that I grew up with, and he always was very fond of Elvis, and he wanted to be an Elvis impersonator. And his mom wouldn't let him because she moved here back in the 80s and she just cared about like financial security and like making sure that he was okay. So she forced him to become a doctor. But even as a doctor, he would like move within his practice. He would have his, what do you call it? The white lab coat. He would flip it up like Elvis, and he grew like, his sideburns. So I don't know, I'm interested in other people, but I definitely think doing my own self-portrait is every now and then between portraits of other people is helpful, because I think when you understand yourself, you're able to recognize things in others a little bit more. Yeah, but again, like, remember, I think I was just talking about this like surrealistic painting that I was doing. I'm not that fond of realism, even though it's beautiful to look at. So sometimes I do these experiments where I try to break out of that realism, and this is one of them. Obviously, like with the different geometric shapes on the cheek, but this is just like a modern day Arab man contemplating. This kafi is to me is so traditional, but I think it's interesting when it's paired with something that is contemporary. Arab artists are always saying this thing. They're always saying, I want to bridge the gap between the East and the West. That's what every Arab artist statement has. That they're always saying, I want to bridge the East and the West. And I think this is such a good example of it, because this ring, it says Khalid, that's my dad's name. But this ring, you can only get it like from the Bronx or something. Yeah, like you can't get this anywhere else. So I think it's interesting that this ring exists with this kafia. Yeah, and also like there's minute details of Arab life here in the States that's really interesting to me, like eyebrow threading. One of the eyebrows is bushy and the other ones is nice. I don't, it's interesting. I just like to point out like you know, the details of our life here. This painting is a work in progress. I'm not sure if I'll ever finish it, but basically this is the idea versus like me versus them in the country, in this, like, living in this country post 9/11 America. The painting is called After 2001, and I'm not really doing anything. Like on the right, like I'm on the right, but I'm not really doing anything, and the white people on the other side are really scared.
Well, it's because you exist. That's enough to frighten them. You exist. That's all. That's your crime, is because you exist, and that's enough to freak them out.
Yeah, I would like to revisit this painting though, but
you need to. I think the painting's finished myself, but I think you should do something with this painting. I think it's very, very powerful. It really sends a powerful message of truthfulness. You know, it's really extraordinary painting.
Thank you. I think that's this painting. I know I keep repeating this, but everything I do informs the next thing I do. This painting taught me that context and concept and storytelling is like so important, because this is not the best painted painting aesthetically, and I'm self-taught, so I'm very insecure sometimes about like about what the actual visual image is going to look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know, the choice of Grisile, of doing it all.
Say that again. Grisile?
Grisile, Greiselle or Sail. I forget how to spell it.
What does that mean?
Black. It's an art historian term for paintings that are done in shades of gray, dark, light, black and white, shades of gray. And so it's paintings where you have basically a huge contrast between black and white that creates a very dramatic impact, like Picasso's Guernica, you know, was Grisile was a technique developed in the Middle Ages to fake paintings of stone. and sculptures of stone, where you see these very realistic things in the painting that look like they're 3D, but they're really just done to trick the eye, trompe-l'oeil of the eye. So it's called grisaille. It's an art historical term. And some of the, David was also a painter who did great stuff, with a lot of really great painters developed this technique. And I have to say, this painting is in that tradition. And what's interesting is, because you're the bad guy, you're in the darker tones, but you have a lighter background. Whereas the white people are in the white tone, but they have the dark background because they're in the darkness. So that's why art historians are useful, because we can tell artists what they were doing. They don't know it. So it's a very powerful symbolic statement, where you're in the light, but you're painted dark. You're depicted dark because that's how they see you. Whereas they're white, but they are in the dark side. So I think this is a very important painting. And I think you should continue it, and you should show it. People need to see this painting.
Thank you. But as I said before, like, I think it helped inform, like this just helped inform like how I went about my other paintings, because I decided to focus on like actual Palestinian lives. And because I don't know, there's like two parts to like my bodies of work. There's like the work that tries to tell a story and tries to teach a lesson to the viewer. And then there's the work that's just trying to pay homage or like commemorate like the people that I love or whatever. So this is like obviously a lesson or a story or whatever. And then like a lot of my new paintings is just, there's no lesson to be told or whatever. It's just my friend.
It's no narrative. It's just showing somebody this.
It's just the people that I love. So this is Nerdine. Nerdine is the one that I was mentioned in the beginning. She introduced me to SJP, and it's amazing. It goes back to what we said about like, it's amazing what Arabs decide to do with themselves once they come here. Nerdine was born and raised in Brooklyn. You know, she's a real New Yorker. She doesn't go anywhere without a Yankee fitted cap. She knows every rap lyric you can think of, but at the same time, like, she is Palestinian at her identity. And so it's amazing that we see these two things, you know, come together, these two intersections come together. Again, it's this idea of West meets East, right? But at the same time, there is a fashion element to this. And I think you see it on the news all the time now, that, you know, Palestinian style is getting appropriated all the time. And we had a moment in 2007, 2006, where like everyone you could think of in New York was wearing this around their scarf, around their neck, you know? Yeah. So it's amazing how it's become like a fashion staple, but the credit isn't given where it's due. And again, like, we spoke a little bit about this idea of intersectionality before. This is I call him my gay mother. This is Fariz Rizik. He's also a drag queen named Sultana. And this is a painting of them sitting on their couch, applying Nivea cream before going to bed. And that's a ritual that a lot of Arabs participate in at nighttime. And I think what's interesting to think about this is that you have these two. So as a queer Arab, like, a lot of people try to have this conversation with me where it's like, it's almost like this, like, I feel sorry for you, like that you have to conflate your two identities. And that's a conversation that comes up often. That, do you have to conflate these two parts of your identities? Do you have to choose one or the other? If you choose one, is the other one gonna die out, right? And you see, as he's leaning into his queerness, the kafi is sort of getting hidden behind the pillow on the right. Yeah. Almost like he has to make a decision between one or the other. And I think I'm lucky to be born in the generation that I'm born in today because it can exist within the same space. But I think people of older generations and people that I look up to had to make that choice where they had to choose one or the other, you know?
Yeah.
And this is my really good friend, my Palestinian non-binary friend Hisham. She goes by she, they, and it's amazing that I think resistance in itself is existence. I think you were just saying something like that. You were saying because you exist or something like that. Yeah. So I think the mere existence of them in this thobe, which is traditionally worn by biological women, by women that are assigned, you know, women at birth, right? And they're wearing this with such confidence, such ease, and it's telling a story. But again, it's just a simple portrait. Yeah. And then remember how I said every now and then I go back to a portrait just to help inform what's going to happen. So this is actually up for auction as we speak. It's a part of the visual aids benefit. But anyways, again, it's this idea of like two things within the same, the East and the West, not separated, but in the same space. So you have this idea of queerness with the earring. Not that many Arabs wear earrings. I know it's so stupid, but with this traditional keffiyeh. So it's a modern day take on what an Arab looks like.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then I just wanted to show you guys, this is the last thing. I'm sorry I took so long.
No, not at all. It was fascinating. It's wonderful.
So I did the Laundromat Project. I was a Laundromat Project fellow last year, and that was one of the most like, it was a life-changing thing, just because it helped inform like the social justice aspect in my work. And community, and just like basically thinking about art as like this movement that's happened. It's not like about me, but it's this movement, and our mission is to change the world and make it better. And it's not just me, it's everybody that is doing it, and we're all trying to do this together. So we had this project about basically like intersecting like this, basically using our art for social change. And I decided, I live in Harlem. I decided I wanted to bring like free Palestine to Harlem. So I went around hanging posters. Hopefully you guys could hear this, see this. Tell me if you can. So I decided to go around Harlem hanging posters in solidarity with Palestine. Although many businesses refused, afraid of what people might say, there were a lot of establishments that wanted to fight for the cause and raise. Sorry, I think Palestinian voices up. I went to many local delis in my neighborhood on Malcolm X Boulevard, Adam Clayton Powell. A lot of these delis were Arab owned and were more than happy to fight for the cause. However, like many other people of color, self-censorship is real. And the possibility of losing customers made them shy away from speaking up. This process made me realize the importance of intersectionality. The Palestinian liberation movement is not singular, but is tied to all universal decolonized movements from around the world. This decolonial fight is also an abolitionist fight. There is no liberation for all without Palestinian liberation. We cannot be silent or complicit. It is not a conflict, nor is it complicated. It is ethnic cleansing, violence, military terror, genocide, colonial expansion, dispossession, and apartheid by the settler colonial state of Israel. Short story time. From 1980 to 1993, the Israeli government prohibited Palestinian artists from using the colors of the Palestinian flag in their artwork. As a form of resistance, they painted watermelons, and I did the same. This video serves as a call to action to go out into your neighborhoods and speak up for what you think is right.
Wow, that was great. Wonderful. I'm so glad you talked about the watermelons. There's a lot of people who know that.
It's amazing, and that's what I'm talking about, though. Like
We all need
art
help.
being
Just different kinds.
Sorry about that.
Maybe you need a lot. At H&R
Alright,
Block,
turn that
get
off.
the expert tax help you need.
I'm sorry.
Online
Give me
and
a
in
moment,
person.
you guys.
Help is here.
State the obvious. 1 year ago today,
You have to kill YouTube.
this sacred place.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that.
no,
But
that
no,
happens all the time.
I was just gonna say, like, it goes back to like to what we were saying, like it's so much bigger than like one person doing one thing. Like you had Slimane do the watermelons, right? And now artists from all over the world are doing watermelons in their neighborhood. It's like it's a global community thing.
Yeah.
But that's it. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
That was so wonderful. Okay, everybody, turn yourselves back on again. Oh, Richard from Lebanon is here. Great. And Imram Nirban is here also. So we've got a pretty full house. So everybody, please turn back on your mics. And Raya, turn on your mic, Mary, and let's ask questions. Of course, my cat is here with the first one. I asked the first question. So anybody have any questions they want to ask or comments?
Hi, good afternoon. Can I talk?
Please, yes, of course.
Yeah. First of all, how do you say your last name, sir?
My I actually use I use an artist moniker. It's Ridikkuluz, but that's not my actual last name. Yeah.
Okay.
So my actual name is Samir Akrush, but I go by Ridikkuluz just because it's a name that I stuck with since.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to read that. I couldn't even say ridiculous. I think it cannot be. Anyway, I congratulate you. Your art, you speak from the heart. I think if if you have a museum or a studio, people will walk in and will see, everybody will interpret the way their, whatever pain or joy have them in their heart. They will see your art in a different view. Rather, you tell what is the story about. So
Yeah.
Of course, but now we needed you because it's like visual. Congratulate you. I hope you will have a big studio soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Richard, you're muted if you're trying to talk. Richard from Lebanon, you're on mute. Okay, boom.
But that's okay. I was hearing everything except that I wrote you a little note saying that I'm on and off, and nothing to do with me is the connection.
Okay, yeah, I didn't look at my chats. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, Haifa is working on something amazing right now. She's working on a khtiara in mosaic. Could we see a little bit, Haifa? Could we get a little preview? Is that cool?
My messy table.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Okay, I guess I have to turn my camera around.
Haifa is one of my favorite artists. Look at that. Isn't that crazy?
I can't see it. Haifa, talk.
I'm here.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
Did you see it?
I'm
Yeah.
here. Let me just make sure.
talk
I'm
because-
muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
see,
That's it. Can you see
wow.
it?
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Amazing.
Keep talking so we can see you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So yes, so I work in mosaic, and I'm in late career. Well, I don't know what the appropriate term is these days for a seasoned artist, but I'm working on a series of Arab women that are often disappeared, but I want to bring them into light. And so I'm working on Khityara because I think I found when I lived in Palestine that it was the elderly women that I enjoyed hanging out with because they held all the history of our people and they had amazing stories. And so this woman just represents all the Khityara, the elderly women.
Amazing.
I'm not seeing anything.
Guys, just a bit of advice. If you click Haifa's thing, there's 3 dots on the right, and then just click pin. If you do you guys see that? If you go by her screen and click on the right, it says pin.
Yeah.
Then it'll make everything bigger.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Samer. I love you.
Yeah. Beautiful. By the way, my granddaughter loves your name, Ridikkuluz. I told her I was on playing Clue and doing fashion design with her all morning. And I said, I have to get off. I have to talk to you. Ridikkuluz. She loves your name. And she's a very talented young 7-year-old. And she says, can I meet him? I said, yes, sometime. Yeah.
I'd love to meet you guys. She probably likes the name because it's from Harry Potter.
Maybe, I don't know. But she's just a very clever young lady who she's gonna be something in this life. I don't know what, but anyhow, any other questions that anybody has in regard to his work or his life experiences? Mary, you're on mute. If you want to unmute yourself and say something. Tom, is this really Thomas Cox or is this somebody? Is this Charlotte? Thomas Cox, are you there? Because he's an artist too. I met him actually in Jordan, doing artwork in Jordan. Samir, I know for myself as an artist that I do a lot of political work too, but then I vacillate and I go back to doing non-political stuff. Do you feel that kind of tension in yourself as an artist between your political work and your just sort of experimental aesthetics? Do you feel any tension in yourself? Do you feel there's a conflict, or do you feel it all works together?
Yeah, I often, I was just discussing this in school. If it was up to me, I would make abstract paintings of like tabula or something. Like I would do something completely different than what I'm doing now. But I think I have a responsibility to myself, to my culture, and to people to like really explain things, because once again, just like I said, like if you don't know, you don't know. And a lot of the students that I'm with have no idea about my culture. So if I don't speak up, if I don't make work about it, how are you going to learn? How are my people going to be documented in history?
Well, it reminds me a little bit of Renaissance and Baroque art, or even medieval art that was in the service of religion, where the paintings were narrative. You know, they told a story because they were part of something bigger, which was religion and belief and faith. So I think, you know, your work is part of that narrative tradition of storytelling, not just any story, but of something really very profound and important. That you're in that tradition where you're using your talents to narrate something very deep. And I think this is very important. And of course, like when you look at those old paintings, you have to have somebody explain them to you. The iconography can be, you know, difficult unless you know of a story, you know, so that it's important. So you paint the narrative. I love my preference in your work is that the combination of the abstract and the realistic. I think you have a great sense for the abstract and for composition. But because you want to tell a story, you combine it with the realism. And I think that's a fabulous technique that you should pursue, because there you meet both your goals as an artist and as a narrator. That Tom, are you there? I keep seeing his icon, but I don't see him. Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
If you don't mind, I could add a little bit to what you said, Jackie. I think art is the deepest way to have communication for humanity. I really encourage you from my heart to do art for children, because I'm a retired school teacher. Our public school library are almost empty from anything to do with Palestine or Middle East. So I think you should turn your art into like books and publish them and send copies to the public school. I'm sure you will find a lot of people who will support you. I mean, this idea of writing our history, it's very, very important. And that's how the other side's voice loud from books, articles, pictures, embedded in the curriculum. If you read about history, you know, embedded in curriculum. Meanwhile, the Middle East cause from 1948, present today, it's absolute missing. And whose fault is that? Us, the people who live this double life or triple life. Our voice is not there. So pen is more powerful than the sword, as the Arabs say. You have to put that in your mind. You're really.
انتي وين عايشة؟
أنا عايشة في تكساس. أنا خلقت. I was born and raised in Golan Heights. My name is Madiha Katao. I was raised in Jolan.
Could we keep in touch?
Then after, you know, I finished my bachelor degree from Damascus University, I came here. I just moved to Texas after I retired a month ago. But, you know, I'm in a process writing also my bio and publish, because when I used to share my stories with the teachers, American teachers, they will say, your story is fascinating, because rather than tell them what's happening, tell them your emotion from talking, your personal story. When I lost my, you know, toy room in Golan, when I lost my almond tree I used to climb, and I have a swing in my backyard. It's my childhood was stolen away because of the Nuzuh, the refugee. So
why don't you
Americans said
you should team up with Samir.
I just sent you my my Facebook and my email.
I took a picture of your YouTube to look for you. We have a huge Palestinian community right here in Dallas.
Really
huge, and they're rich, filthy. They're like, they don't know what to do with their money. I'm serious, because people are, you know, they don't have hawiya, they don't have identity. They want to assimilate, but they forget the other side of their life.
آسف بدي أحكي اسمك بالصح. مديحة؟
نعم. كتاو. شركسية. أنا شركسية. I'm Circassian. So my last name is not Arabic. Circassian. أدقة Circassian.
أوكي خلينا نحكي مع بعض. بلكي أنت تبي الكتب وأنا برسم.
Sure. Oh my God.
That would be wonderful.
Yes. And we're going to find a publish. Maybe Jackie will guide us some.
I do. I have a guy who publishes.
Oh, beautiful.
I would love to. You know, it's funny you say that, because a conversation I'm having in school right now is the professors, they keep on wanting to ask you, like, where do you see yourself showing your work?
Sure. You gotta read the book. I'm gonna recommend for everybody. You gotta read a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. Anybody read that book?
No.
It's like 100-page small size book, handful book. So in that book, it tells you 7 steps. Please get it. It's $5. I mean, if you give me your address, I will order it from Amazon to you. It's $5 only. The Greatest Salesman in the World. That's the name of the book. All of you should read it.
Okay.
It's just giving you 7 steps. I don't want to ruin it. And the story happened from Damascus to Beit Lahem, back and forth. And at the end, it's written by Christian. At the end, he talks about Paul. So please read that book.
Okay.
Amazing.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you. What a great idea. I'm so glad you guys hooked up.
I hope so.
Meaning, every week I say, why are you doing this every week? You know, this is exhausting, and is it making a difference or whatever? But now, thank you guys, because you're hooking up. I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
I don't want to say Haifa's name again, but I there's something is really interesting. So Haifa's actually the director and curator at Yonkers Public Library. She runs the art gallery there. She does all the art in the schools over there. So
Wow.
we actually have somebody from the library system right here,
Oh,
right?
no, we're a team. We're ready to go.
Very good.
2022 is our year.
So
Very
she's
2022 is our year, folks. This is
and
wonderful.
but the reason why I mentioned that is because like in school they keep on saying like, where do you see yourself hanging your work, things like this, and everyone's saying, oh, this gallery, this gallery, this gallery. What's so good about hanging in spaces like a library is Haifa does things like workshops. Haifa has programs where kids and come and like learn about the work. You know what I mean? It's not just like hanging on a wall and then like it's about like, is it going to sell? Is it not? No, at the library, it's so much more. It's about there's an educational aspect to it.
Yeah.
Especially the high school level. I come from high school level, and the library full of teenage books, 90% of them garbage. I used to sit in my lunchtime, break time in the library for past 20 years. That's all I did. I would look at this book. I said, where is our books? I call it our book because there's nothing speak from my heart. When Afghanistan war happened, there's tons of Afghani stories. It put you in tears and cry, and you become emotionally involved in their like rich cultural, not the one TV shows you. In such short time, Afghani, they have a lot more story and books available out there for the teenage level rather than the Palestinian or any other cause in the world, in Middle East.
I'd love to just mention one thing. Our library, I wrote a grant for a program to order, they're called story map machines. And basically they allow people from the public to insert a story, and then it prints out the story in the form of a zine, and it's free. No one has to pay anything to publish on these machines. And the great thing about publishing is that once you publish a story in one of the story mapping machines, it becomes public to people from all over the world.
Wow.
So it's a new technology. We've invested dearly in it. It cost a lot of money. We ordered these machines from France, and they're absolutely fabulous. And
What is the name of the
offer
machine?
these services to anyone.
What is the name of the machine?
Story mapping.
Story mapping. Okay.
If you email me or text me, I'm happy to send you the link so you can learn all about how it works, but it's very low tech. We did it because we wanted community to be able to publish their stories and tell their stories, but anybody can insert a story and have it published.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Wow.
so much, Haifa. Jackie, you got to bring in Haifa so she could give us her story is amazing.
Yeah, let me, I'll be in touch. Send me a link. Haifa, send me a link where I can contact you and get you on for an interview. Now, Mary, you had a question, Mary Buchwald from Brooklyn Voice for Peace. Yeah, you had a question?
Oh, well, your work is wonderful. And it would be a shame to see you do abstract work when you make life come to life in your realism. It's, you know, think about that.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate that, Mary.
And I agree with, you know, getting it out there in the form of books, and this new thing, story mapping, is wonderful. It could be abused, but it's important as well. So, Jackie, it's so wonderful that you're bringing this to us, and it would, you know, the painting that you had about the two sides, the Arab versus the three white people. I see that as part of a book, where like the before and the after. I mean, I see it as part of a, you know, an awareness change of people. I don't know how you would put it into a book, but
I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, you're so talented. It's just amazing. And you're self-taught. I mean, my goodness, you know, I guess your family recognized as a child your artistic abilities. And
you're so sweet, Mary. Thank you.
Yeah, and put you in touch with your uncle. in Jordan. So yeah, the best of luck. I'd like to have something in my apartment by you, but anyway.
Anything.
Yeah, good
Well,
luck.
where do you live? Where are you based?
We're in Brooklyn. I'm based in Brooklyn.
Oh, I'm right. I'm in Harlem, so we're right next to each other.
Yeah.
Well, Mary is involved in one of the most wonderful groups I've ever come across for support for Palestine. The Brooklyn for Peace group has a special Palestine Israel subgroup within it, and they are awesome. They are warriors. They are every day sending things out, watching like hawks, everything that goes on. And although I live in Greenwich Village in Manhattan, I was born in Brooklyn and my kids live in Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn a lot. So I joined this awesome Brooklyn for Peace group because they are spectacular. Should think about it. It's $10 a year. So, you know, it's worth the $10 to join them and just get all their information. It's just fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's amazing groups in Brooklyn. There's Jewish Voice for Peace and
right.
all that.
But they're all over. Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking, Jackie, that maybe our group, the Israel, could put on a Zoom on our Arab art, literature, poetry, an evening of meeting art and the Israel-Palestine situation.
Oh, that would be great. We have that wonderful singer.
Too bad Charlotte isn't down here.
Yeah,
but,
we have that wonderful singer from Texas who's just getting over COVID. She's been really, really sick. And she says, you know, everybody tells you this COVID is not that bad. She said, don't believe them. All 4 of them in her house. And she was inoculated too. She had all her shots. She's been very, very sick, but she's finally getting over it. Nizreen Hasrin, she was on our show a couple of weeks ago. So she's one of the musicians that we could get on. And Karima can probably get us some others. She's got that group of Palestinian artists and writers and musicians. So yeah, that's a great idea. I'd love that if they would do that, Mary. If you could suggest that, that would be fabulous.
Well, you'd be important because you're a link to all this.
Yeah,
you know, you're bringing this to us and making it accessible.
Yeah, I'm the missing link. I always knew there was something weird about me.
Yeah, no, you're a prize.
I'm a missing link. I'm semi alien like whatever. Okay, so anybody else have anything they want to say or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
Just
Richard,
that,
okay, from Lebanon.
Yeah, the suggestion of $5, you don't need it. You can get it free. Go to pdfdrive.com and type it, and I'm downloading it right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Greatest salesman in the world, blah, blah, blah. For free, pdfdrive.com. They got 75 million books.
Thank you.
Like big.
Thank you.
Anybody, that's where I get my books anyway.
Richard, what is the link again?
pdfdrive.com.
pdfdrive.com. Okay, thank you, Richard.
75 million books. That's like a lot of books.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
and they're free. They're free.
Great, great. How are things in Lebanon? For the new
well, the politics sucks and there's no money. But down the road, not too far down the road, sometime this year, this year, we're going to be shalom with Israel because they want the oil of Lebanon. So I strongly suspect that the economy and everything will go up slowly, but it will go up because shalom wants to be friend with us because we got the oil. That just has to be a sharmuta. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Richard, for your update and your prophecy. He's very good at prophesizing and figuring things out. Don't get him started here now. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and more to come.
I just want to thank you so much, Summer. It was so fabulous to have you, and I'm so happy that you connected. Mahalia and on this. This is so fabulous, and I'm really looking forward to updating. And you've got to come over and visit.
I would love that.
Into my chaotic apartment that I live in.
Haifa would love to hear where you live. Haifa, she lives in West Beth housing. That's an
Yeah.
artist dream.
Well, we call it Bellevue West also.
Wow.
Do you know anybody here?
I don't know anybody there, but for 20 years, my dream has been to live there.
Yeah, well, you made your escape.
Pottery.
Yeah, we actually have a ceramic studio. We had, I don't know, now with COVID, this is like a ghost town where, you know, we don't go out, you know, nobody talks to anybody. It's a very different situation, but there is a ceramic studio here,
Wow.
from what I understand. But the people are always fighting about everything. You know, artists, put 400 artists under one roof. You can imagine, you know, so we have ongoing battles over everything going on all the time. Half the building hates the other half, you know, we've divided up. But we're on the West Bank, you know, we're on the corner of West Street and Bank Street.
Oh, I know it very well.
So if people ask, where do you live? I live in the West Bank. But yeah, West Street and Bank Street.
Is it hard to get in, Jackie?
Yeah, now they've closed the list. You know, people have been on the list 20 years, but I know people still can get in. They do have apartments for like people who are like refugee artists. I have a wonderful Haitian family across the hall who came in because he was a photographer doing an interview in Parliament, and a member of Parliament shot him. He was a journalist, you know, doing his job, a photojournalist, and he got shot. So he's living across the hall from me now. Great couple from Haiti. So we had a Syrian, we get Arabs once in a while coming in from, we had a Syrian artist, but now we just got a new management. It's very corrupt though, you know, it's been around a long time. This property is very valuable now, you know, because we're in the middle of the village, which, you know, since Sex and the City, all the celebrities moved in, and it's ruined the neighborhood. They ruined the neighborhood.
Yes.
So now they want to get rid of all the artists here and turn it into luxury housing. So artists are complying by dying off because a lot of them are old, but they seem to live until be like 100. You know, we have a number of, my best friend was 101 and 100, and the other one 100, and they just died this year. So we're frustrating them by living long, you know. So we'll see, but go, you know, you can always apply, and then you just wait for 20 years and hopefully you're still alive.
Right.
We had somebody got in, I think they were already in their 70s. They went on the list when they were in their 40s or 50, you know.
Oh
and
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's serious?
Yeah, it's crazy.
When did you get in, Jackie?
I came in illegally. A lot of people came in here first illegally. I was an illegal sublet like 1976, and my son was born here. And then I left for a year or two and came back illegally. But a lot of people come in through illegal sublets, and they kind of make a foot here, and then I got in, but then I was here only part-time because I went to Jordan in 2007. And I would be gone for 3-4 months at a time, and then I would come back, and I would be back and forth. And I was gallery director here for many years, but then I exposed corruption and did a lot of things to piss off people. So then they got rid of me, and that's when I went to Jordan to get away from West Beth for a while because I couldn't stand the terrorism in West Beth. So I'd rather be in the Middle East where people treated me nicely. Yeah, so that's when I went to West Beth, went to Jordan, but now I'm back. Yeah, you're free to come and visit. Anybody want to come to New York? I always have an extra place to sleep. I have dogs and cats though, so you have to put up with them. But otherwise, everybody's welcome. I'm always have an open door policy of hospitality to anybody, particularly
So
anybody.
awesome.
That is so generous of you. That is so generous of you.
Yeah, no,
As well, if anybody wants to come to Dallas, my house is open. And I have extra huge bedroom. So please don't hesitate, just phone call.
Thank you, that's wonderful. All right, everybody. Well, I think we had a really fabulous session. Art unites the hearts of people, doesn't it? I mean, look at what's happened with us this session, connecting creatively and on a human level. And then Richard telling us where to get all these free books, which is great. So I always say that the world isn't going to change through politics or policies, that it's going to change when people's hearts change. So, and art is the way to change the hearts. So I want to thank everybody for coming, and Samir, definitely you are awesome, and we have to have you back. And I want to get in touch with your student for peace people. I've been trying to contact them for 2 years. I've sent a gazillion emails and messages.
You're so funny. They changed the name, so you might be sending it to the wrong email.
I can't get a hold of anybody. I've been trying so hard. So if you can.
That's not their name no more. Now they go by Within Our Lifetime.
Yeah, I've contacted them. But anyhow, if you could ever contact me to anybody,
I could put you in touch with Nerdine.
Yeah, great. Because I want to have some students. I don't want to find out like what happened at Fordham. I know they threw that group out.
Yeah, you heard about that?
You know, but City University just sponsored BDS last month. So that was a big deal. They're still fighting about it up at City University, but the student council sponsored a resolution to support BDS, which caused a big ruckus. That was in December, I think. So I just want to find out what's going on with the students. And now
Nerdine is actually in law school right now, and the Zionists at that school tried getting her kicked out, but luckily they sided with her. So
which school was she at?
CUNY Law.
That's it. Those are the people who sponsored the pro BDS.
Yeah, they tried to get her kicked out, and instead they took her. Not only did they take her side, but they also sponsored pro BDS.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. Well, I'd love to interview with her and find out what's going on. She can talk to us from Moscow if she can get on Zoom, but anyhow, that I would love to have. We haven't talked to Moscow yet. We've talked to a lot of them on Zoom, but not Moscow yet. Although I don't know if, the PUT person would like us there. I don't think so. All right, everybody. Masalama. Shukran Katir. And love you all. And I'll see you next week. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye. Masalama.